Hello, everyone, and welcome to MSUFCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We appreciate you all joining us this evening and are excited to be here with you virtually. These presentations were created with you in mind, with the intention to give financial education on a number of relatable topics to help expand your knowledge of finances. Each event will be hosted by a member of our financial education department or by one of our partners, connecting you with resources in our community. We have a number of diverse presentations planned for you this year, and you can explore and register for them by visiting us at msufcu.org/events. Tonight's event is being recorded. You can rewatch or share the presentation by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MSUFCU, and then selecting the seminar series option from that playlist. Recordings are usually updated within about 3 weeks of the event. Questions for our presenters tonight can be submitted by using the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then we'll go ahead and address those after the presentation is over. And we'll also provide some additional information and resources in the chat as well, so keep an eye on that. I'm Therese Bacon, and I'll be your facilitator this evening. If you have any technology issues, you can go ahead and chat me directly, but please reserve the Q&A panel for your questions. Tonight, we have one of our wonderful partners from Pocket Nest, who provide the MSUFCU FINLIFE app. Allow me to introduce our host, Michael Derry, who is the Executive Vice President of Sales with Pocket Nest. Welcome, Michael, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll pass it over to you now so you can introduce yourself to our audience, and then we can lead right into your presentation this evening.
Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate everybody spending their Thursday evening with us. I'm really excited to share today some of the updates that we've made to the MSUFCU FinLife product, and specifically around budgeting. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to type them in the chat, and as we're going along, as they come up, and we'll feel free to address those at the end of the conversation. So on that note, let's get started. So first and foremost, I think it's important to highlight that MSUFCU, the FinLife experience, is a standalone app and product that can be found in the App Store or Google Play. There will be a QR code at the end of the presentation that I'm going to encourage everybody to scan and download the product. That being said, we are going to be getting some detail orientation walkthrough of the new budgeting experience today. So I don't want to be talking too fast and leave people in the dust as maybe they're trying to work along with us during this process. So what I want to do is kind of go through it. This is going to be recorded, as Teresa mentioned, so you can review it, can circle back to it in the future if you have any questions as you're starting your budgeting experience. But before we get started, I think let's talk about budgeting, right? And I think this is, let's kind of take, dive into it, kind of eliminate any fear or apprehension that we might have in the group, and make sure that you understand that there's probably some people here and that we want you to understand and know that you're not alone, okay? 2/3 of Americans don't keep a detailed budget. And our job is to make it easier for you. But again, 2/3 don't. So, and personal finance is often kind of one of those conversations that people are sometimes hesitative to open up with friends and family about, because they're afraid that, oh wait, they're behind. Or, hey, everybody's doing it and I'm not. And before we dive into this, I want to reiterate that again, you're in the majority. You're not in the minority if this is your first time thinking of a budget, okay? Now let's talk about why budgeting, right? And these are some high level ones, but everyone's reason for budgeting can be extremely personal, right? For example, avoid spending more than you make, paying off debt, preparing for emergencies, save for retirement. You want to get on the same page with your spouse or partner. These are all great, common examples. A personal journey of mine, we were just talking with Teresa about this before we got live. I'm getting married next week. Budgeting was very important for me when I was saving for that engagement ring, setting aside that money for that major milestone in my life. So again, everyone, their budgeting journey begins because of a different reason. And whatever that reason is, how can we continue to build on those good habits to support that journey of financial wellness to financial security? So again, what are the benefits, right? 62% of budgeters feel more in control of their finances. Hey, let's sleep easy at night. Let's not be tossing and turning. 68% believe a budget helps them reach their goals, right? Again, and what are those goals? Everyone's goals are different, and we're going to help set those up, and you can personalize that within this experience. And additionally as well, 67% believe a budget greatly impacts their confidence in their financial security, okay? Now, this is where we queue FinLife, okay? And as I mentioned before, it's free to download. You can thank MSUFCU and our great partnership with Pocket Nest for making this available to all members. Again, it's available in Android, iOS, and web. Our goal is to provide those personalized financial insights, and we are going to be covering just budget today, but we do cover 10 themes of financial wellness. So, looking at net worth, budget, debt payments, insurance, retirement, investments, college saving plans, as well as trusts and wills. So again, we're diving deep into budget, but again, we cover all 10 themes of financial planning, and it really bite-sized 3 minutes a week type experience to give you that, again, that path to financial security. So again, the reason I bring this up is we're going to dive into the budgeting app, but there is some linear aspect to what this experience looks like. And for those that go into it and are going to start this experience for the first time today with the MSU FinLife, I do encourage everyone to start with the net worth, because it's very important when you're building that budget, understanding your cash flow is where you begin. Where are you today? What does your balance sheet look like? What assets, what debts you have? And for those that might be sitting there saying, well, Michael, I don't really have anything. Don't worry about it. All right. I'm right there with you. Okay. It was probably not only 4 or 5 years ago that the most expensive tangible asset I had was my golf clubs. Okay. So don't worry about it. Everyone's on a different place in their journey, and that's completely fine. So don't have any insecurity in wherever that may be. I highly, just let's start there, because we have to have that building block as we get into budget. So on that note, we're going to dive into the experience. Okay. So give me 1 second. All right, fantastic. So again, what you're seeing today, just for the interest of time, is a mock-up of our budgeting experience. This is going to be live in our product here in the next couple of weeks, so we're kind of getting ahead of it. And again, this is really important as you're preparing to go through this thing, is that everybody starts thinking about why they want to budget. What's the purpose behind that budgeting? And again, my goal is to get you in the product so that you can leverage this, use this as a tool, as an asset. But if people walk away from today's conversation and it's just even a back a napkin or pull out an Excel, hey, I've done my job. My job is to help you guys start that journey to financial security, and maybe one day get into the products and app. So here we go. So once you get into the MSU FinLife for the first time, you're going to see that budget experience, and we're going to start educating you on our approach to budgeting. And at Pocket S, we like to think in terms of buckets: needs, wants, asks, etc. We're here to optimize it as well. And when we say optimize it, our goal is to work with you so that you can better understand, where does that next dollar go? Okay? Well, where does that next dollar go? And also additionally as well, this is going to be a manually driven process. We're going to set up that budget. We are going to track our spending for manually entering as we complete those different aspects tied to our budget. We want to build a habit. Okay. This isn't a set it and leave it type experience. And that's extremely intentional. So we can build that habit driven process. Now let's start setting some buckets up. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, how we look at buckets, what are those buckets? First, we're going to talk about income. Then we're going to talk about living expenses. Then we're going to talk about debt payments. Then we're going to make recommendations based on those buckets we set up. And then we're going to start setting up other buckets. And those other buckets primarily are going to be those wants. Okay. And this is where you have to be really introspective and understand, what is the difference in your life between what would be classified as a need, as a living expense, and what would be considered an other bucket or a want. Okay. Based on everyone's different situation, goals in life, those can vary. Okay. A great example is that, we work with some clients that, giving back from, charitable contribution to different aspects, whether it be, faith-based or other, that's a must, right? That's something they do first before anything else. Others, they don't view it that way. So again, this is a very personalized journey, and we encourage you to determine what that need and want is, but we will give you some guidelines and some guidance along that as well. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start filling up this pie. All right. And in order to do that, we need some income. We need to understand what that income looks like before we start spending it. So what does that look like? What is that inflow from that perspective? Okay. Then we're going to get into living expenses. Then we're getting into those debt payments. And then we're going to make those recommendations. Okay. What's the next thing we do after that with the money that's left over? And then also, as I mentioned, those other buckets. So as I saw that flow, this is what that home screen is going to look like from there. So when we get into the app, you're going to go up here and you're going to click on this plus button where you're going to add your income. Okay. Now, how much do you get paid? I think this is the really important thing I want to call out here. This is different than a lot of other budgeting experiences. And this is one thing I'm going to call out specifically. The others, it's a very step-by-step process. You go through, you'll see it. But the reason I want to call this post-tax income, okay? For individuals that don't know what that is, that means, when you get, an offer sheet from, your work or something like this that says you're going to get paid X dollars in salary or X dollars an hour. The actual pay, obviously, we have Social Security, federal, state withholdings that are set up. We want to understand the income after that that is actually disposable to you at that time that you can pay. Okay? Very important. So once we understand that, we're going to go ahead and enter that income. All right. That's where you're going to be able to enter some names. For the purpose of this, we like to keep it light and fun. So, what's the note on this? We're going to call it Bob. What's that paycheck amount? It's $2,750. Very important that we understand paycheck frequency. Okay. This is something that a lot of people, when they set up a budget, really kind of miss or sometimes get lost because they expect they're going to have cash ready at hand, but the truth of the matter is that they might not, based on that paycheck frequency. So is it weekly, every 2 weeks, twice a month, monthly, etc.? Okay. Once we have that, you're also able to enter additional forms of income. This is really important, especially if you're in a dual income household, or if you have multiple jobs that you work, or if you have a primary job and you have a one-time side gig, you can enter that income there. Okay. Once we have income, you can start to see now, hey, now we have that total inflow. What's our available budget? Now we have to start spending that money, understanding what that monthly budget looks like. Okay. So now let's start looking at your living expenses. Okay. We're going to have some suggested buckets that are going to come right out of it. Now, some people might say, hey, Michael, I see rent here, but I don't see mortgage. Two different things, okay? We are going to factor when we get into the debt aspect of it. That's when we're going to focus on mortgage payments, because mortgage payments are associated with a debt tied to an asset. Rent is an outflow that doesn't have an asset tied to it. So again, some people want to make sure they understand that difference, and that's very intentional, okay? So again, this is where you're going to start entering those suggested buckets. Here's some additional buckets that you might have. Maybe you have multiple forms of rent, multiple car insurance, again, because you could be a multiple individuals within the household with multiple cars, groceries, utilities, transportation, insurance, additional buckets that we might not be thinking about, etc. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start entering these. I'm going to click through these pretty quickly in the interest of time. But again, let's go add some groceries. Okay, let's enter the bucket. We're going to name it groceries. We're going to enter the addition, any additional names we want with that, enter that budget, enter that due date, etc. Okay. So again, hey, this is groceries. Maybe you're like my fiance who I'm going to marry, and she shops at a couple different stores for a couple different items. So we have an expensive store, and then we have, hey, the deal store, because there's a couple items she wants to get there. So what's the monthly budget for that? Okay. Go in there, you're going to see we have this bucket. All right. We don't have any due date associated with it because there's flexibility with groceries. But when we talk about our rent, right? Hey, we want to have that due date. Hey, that's due at the first of the month. We need to have cash at hand. That's very important with certain aspects. Okay. So again, I'm going to click through pretty quickly right here. We're entering these buckets, utilities. Again, notice the difference where date becomes very important for certain aspects versus other because there's not flexibility tied to it. Okay. Moving quickly, adding car insurance, etc. Daycare, again, these are those other buckets that you can start to create, customized to your own personal situation. Okay. Now, when we get to them, we're going to do, hey, let's do a check. Okay. Hey, are all of these your buckets, etc.? Okay. Awesome. We've got our living expenses thing. Now let's focus on debt. Okay. And this is before we get into debt, we send you back to the home screen so that you can see, hey, this pie is starting to fill out. All right. We have a monthly income of $5,500. We're seeing from a green perspective here as it fills out that living expenses is taking up 49% of it. We now have $2,800 available in our budget left over, and we're going to start focusing on debt. Now you're going to see, again, this is based on the MSUFCU FinLife experience. There's a setup process that you have to go through before you get here. And we're pulling from that where we've already identified potential debts that you've had, as well as if you've already done the net worth theme, we've already leveraged Plaid, which is an integration source, to pull in these data sources so that we can understand the debt that you may have. Whether this be, through accounts that you have with MSUFCU, or as you can see here, external accounts too. So that's the power of this. We can pull in those external accounts that maybe live outside MSUFCU. I don't know why they would, but if they do, we can bring them in. And you can make sure that you have that full vision of when you're looking from that budgeting experience. Okay. And we're calculating what those minimum monthly payments are from that perspective. Okay. Awesome. Additionally, as well, if you have any manual accounts you need to add, we can add those as well, because not everything might be tied to from that perspective. So let's go add a debt. Let's add a personal loan, right? A personal loan isn't going to have some digital record typically somewhere that could be with a family or a friend that you may have set up. We want to make sure that's accounted for here, right? Just because we can't, pull it from another thing. So again, you can input as well those personal loans too from a manual nature. Okay, awesome. Now we have all of that taken care of. I'm just doing a quick time check. So now let's get started toward that success. Now we understand, all right, we have our income, we have our living expenses, and we have our debt, right? We're keeping the lights on, everything's good. Now, what are the recommendations? What's next? Where does my next dollar go? All right. Now, I know all of us, and myself included, it's like, hey, especially in my youth, man, I want to buy X, Y, and Z. Well, hey, let's set us up so that we can start making those maybe decisions where, hey, we have some extra income, but we got to make sure we have that cushion. So the first recommendation we're always going to have is that emergency fund. Okay. Hey, where's that $500 so that in case something goes wrong, we have it set aside. So it's not we're paying down our credit card debt and then, oh, wait, we get into a situation and, oh, we start building it up. We always want to have that little nest egg to take care of those problems in life that are unanticipated that we can take care of. So the first thing we're going to do is build that emergency fund. And we have a completion goal, a total of 500. That is something though, when you set it up, you can toggle based on your lifestyle. Again, if you feel 500 is not enough, you can increase that to a higher amount. And that's where you're going to see, hey, our recommended addition is $200 on a monthly budget perspective based on what you have available right there. Okay. So, hey, available to budget 200, spend your money, put that extra $200 towards it. Great. And then also additionally, well, this gives you an opportunity that if you already have an emergency fund set up, you can highlight the money that you have set aside there. Okay. Awesome. Now onward to the budget dashboard. Great. So next thing we want to do is I'm going to drive over here because we've set up that budget. We're now going to start talking about your cash flow. Okay. So now we have the recommendations of that 200 additional dollars that are going in there. We have your living expenses, and you see this is a very manually driven process. So, hey, you have $1,000 due in rent this month. We know it's due on the first of the month back in November. It's not going to just manually say, hey, it was paid for. You have to go in here and register that you paid for it and that money actually outflowed. And this is really important because some of these things that are budgeted, they are rigid in nature, right? Your rent hopefully is fixed if you are paying rent and it isn't a variable price. But you know what isn't? Groceries, right? So groceries, we actually have to go in there and account for what did we spend $500? Did we spend less than $500? Did we spend more? And this is where you're building that habit, having that manual nature, really reflecting on where that money is going, because not all of these expenses, both living and debts, are fixed. Okay? Where are we using that extra income? We talked about that emergency fund. Once we have that emergency fund, we're always going to prioritize credit card debt because of the high interest that's associated with it. Okay. So as soon as we have that emergency fund, we're then going to start prioritizing that credit card debt. Okay. Once we then look at credit card debt, we're then going to start looking at building that cash reserve, which is that 3 to 6 months based on expenses that you have. And then from there, that's where we're going to start then that's where it gets a little bit more fun. We can start then getting a little bit more flexible based on if you want to, start contributing more to saving towards investments or retirements, more some discretionary spends or one-time expenses, et cetera. Okay. Now, the important thing too is that this is a month-by-month process. Okay. Right? You can come in here and adjust your budget on a monthly type basis. Okay. I think a great example is, just for those that, again, based on different brackets, hey, I'm traveling and I'm going to spend time with, maybe my parents for a couple of weeks. Well, guess what? There's upsides. You might have some travel costs associated with that, but guess what? Your grocery bill is probably going to decrease potentially. I'm not sure how it works, but I know that when we talk to a lot of young people, that's what they love about this tool is that they can adjust their budget month by month based on their anticipated expenses. Okay. Awesome. So on that note, you're going to see here, this is when you start keeping yourself accountable, building that habit. Hey, check. I've put that $200 there. I've made my rent payment. I've made my car insurance payment. Awesome. All right. We've reviewed those essentially. We reviewed the recommendations. We've completed that budget. We're ready to go. We understand that we're going to work on emergency fund. The next thing is going to be that credit card payment, and we're off to the races. So I've been talking for about 20 minutes, and I know I've gone through this extremely quickly, but I want to pause, open it to the room, see if people have questions regarding the tool and the platform of budgeting.
All right, so if you have any questions, go ahead and get those to me in the Q&A. We did have one person that got a little bit lost on the emergency fund thing. So she said, I didn't quite understand the reference to the $200 related to the emergency fund. Could you please restate that?
Yeah, so let me actually go back into it, and I apologize.
Okay. No,
who was that?
your
Was
brain
that
moves quickly,
Sonia?
so you're just
No,
going along. It's fine.
I wish I had all night to sit and go through this tool with you. It isn't going to take all night. The first time you go through it, it is very detail orientated.
Yeah.
That's intentional. But let me go back so I can showcase this real quick.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. Let me just pull back to the screen so we can see it. And this is the $200, just so we're, come on. Let's share. So here, so Sonia, if you look at this, this is where I'm referencing $200 in regards to the conversation. So if you
okay.
go back, right, you see when we set up, I'm just clicking back. When we set this up, you see the total inflow for the month is $5,500. And then you see this pie, 49% of that $5,500, right? Which is going to be our living expenses, which is a total sum of $2,700 is being spent. And then if you look at debt payments, that's another $2,600, right? Which is making 47%. So this gray area, that's the leftover cash flow we have that month, which is that 200. So we have $200 left over that month to spend. So based on our recommendations and what we see, we don't have that emergency fund. We'd love to be in a situation where we have $500 to fund that all entirely right now, but the only available cash we have based on the cash flow is $200. So we're going to save $200 this month, and hey, then we'll look at our budget next month, and hey, if it's only another $200, great. And then hey, the next month, if it's the same situation, all right, we're going to put $100 towards that. All right. And then the additional $100 we're going to do, those are going to be payments on top of the minimum payments to our credit cards that we're making. So we're starting to pay down that additional principal. Does that help answer the question?
I think so. So the platform will kind of, until you get your emergency fund built up to whatever amount you had entered in there, it's going to tell you to put whatever extra money each month into that until the emergency fund amount is satisfied. And then after that, it'll say, okay, now you've got your emergency fund. Let's put all that extra money each month onto those high interest credit cards.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
And Mary Pat, I see your question. Yes, you can. So that is completely up to you. And it's a very flexible environment. We have
I don't think anyone else can see the Q&A though. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So she said, do you go in as you spend? Example, groceries today, I spent 50 at Meijer's. Tomorrow I'm going to go to Trader Joe's. Can you go in daily to update?
Yes, you can, Mary Pat. So the platform is designed to be extremely flexible for you and based on what you want as a user experience. So we have some people that set their budget and then at the end of the month kind of do that reflective, hey, I'm going to go, now do the math, and that's great. If you're an individual that wants to do it on a weekly basis, you can go and do it weekly. If you want to do it daily, etc. You can go in and do partial payments like, hey, I spent $50 in my $500 budget or $100, etc. It's not like it's not all or nothing when you preset those balances.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I love that it kind of adjusts as the months go on, and it's going to be intuitive in that way and kind of let you tailor things to how those cash flows change and how different expenses come up and things like that. So that's awesome. Perfect. Yeah. Well, if we have any other questions from Michael, go ahead and get those submitted. There isn't anything on the board now, but I'm also going to go ahead and drop the link into the chat here so y'all can check out the portion of our website that features that and shows you how to download the app if you're interested. Or you said there is a web-based platform too. Yeah. It's not just the app. Okay.
Yeah, and that'll be there. So here, but I know I'm sure.
Oh yeah, there's the QR code. Perfect.
Right now, Michael, I made it. So everybody, if you want to pull out your phones, you can scan this QR code. Again, and there'll be a follow-up email that's sent out, and it'll direct to, all of the different experiences that are available, including desktop. But this is really easy for individuals who want to go, whether it be on the Android or App Store, download that experience.
Perfect. And is this just available to MSUFCU members, or because I know we do have some people join that aren't members to join the seminar series event. So
Yep.
is
No,
it
no, this is something that MSUFCU it is extremely gracious to provide to not only members, but those that are within the community and friends of those. So again, please take advantage of this. And I think the unique thing as well within the experience is not only do you have the great budgeting tools here, but also within the other 10 themes, it's going to allow you to really kind of get that 360 view of questions and answers and education that hopefully are going to allow you to not only sleep better at night, but are going to help you on that journey of financial wellness to financial security. We like to say, as Michiganders, as a Michigander-based company, we're your digital I-75. Okay, we have an on ramp wherever you are in your journey, and we have an exit ramp wherever you are too, to support you along the way.
Yes, definitely. That is awesome. Thank you. Someone said, I find it easier to set aside a certain amount for variable expenses like groceries.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Again, a lot of people look at this differently. So again, I totally can appreciate that. So Catherine, you remind me of my brother when he was looking at the budgeting tool with me, right? He's just like, I like to put money over here. And he's like, well, what's that for? He's like, well, sometimes I might want to eat out and I don't want to just really put it at groceries because then it makes me feel bad. Now, again, he's a young male that struggles in the kitchen. So his life's a little bit different, but they do kind of put food as a bucket rather than groceries, which is completely fair.
Yeah, cool, good. Yeah, so I encourage everyone to go ahead and check out the FinLife platform. It is really great. I'm a financial educator and I still spend, 10, 15 minutes at least a week on this app. And I'm definitely picking up things here and there too, just because I'm a financial educator, I can still always learn. I'm always open to learn, and you guys have really provided just such a great platform with so many resources. So it's awesome to partner with you. We thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I don't think we have any other questions coming through right now. So I'll go ahead and send out a follow-up email to everyone that attended tonight. So you'll get that in just a few minutes here after we end the presentation with some more information. And you can always feel free to reach out to me or Pocket Nest if you have any specific questions about the FinLife platform, and they will be willing to help you through that. Yeah, is there any other last minute things you wanted to add, Michael?
I just say, just building on that, Teresa, I know there's gonna be email out, feel reach out to her or myself. But also as well, within the application, you can always go up in the right-hand thing. And if you have any questions, go ahead and submit that question. We'll get back to you as quickly as possible to help guide you through that experience.
Okay, perfect. Good. So yep, there's a little help right within the app. So that's even better. Great. All right, sounds good. Well, just finishing up here, I just wanted to, and someone said congratulations to you on your upcoming marriage, Michael. So yes, we hope, I'm sure it will be awesome. And yes, big congratulations there. But yes, I just wanted to remind everyone as you close out of the Zoom this evening, there will be a short survey that pops up. So go ahead and take that so we can get your feedback on tonight's session and get some ideas for any other topics you might want to touch on in the seminar series events. We have some upcoming events also that I wanted to highlight real quick. I did throw those in the chat, but in case you didn't see there, next Tuesday, we have our partners at Silver that will be talking about maximizing your tax savings in retirement. And then on February 4th, we will be I will be hosting that one, and it will be focused on raising children with financial literacy. So go ahead and sign up for those at msufcu.org/events. And we hope to see you all very soon. So thank you again, Michael, for joining us. And I hope that we can have you back soon. And I know you guys are always updating and adding new features. And yeah, we always love to showcase those for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa.
All right. Yes. Yeah, go White. And go Lions.
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you soon.
I'll see you.
Bye.